If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. It's the best night of the week. We hope you're hungry for Pizza Night with Niki and Mike here on Mercado Airwaves. Now, here are your hosts for Pizza Night, Nicole Mancha and Mike Mercado.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us for another Pizza Night with Nick and Mike. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, as always, with the lovely Nicole Mancha. How are you, Nicole?
I'm great. How are you? It's been a cold day. It dropped.
Yeah, it definitely did, and snow is on its way. It is Super Bowl weekend, and we have a very fun show for you guys. It's nice and relaxed for us, so we are taking your questions about life, relationships, and all that fun stuff. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Be part of the conversation. Nicole, let's get right into it. I know some of our friends, a lot of people online have some things they want us to discuss, so go ahead. Why don't you start us off?
So we decided to kind of put a post out there so everyone could give us their opinions, see what they wanted to talk about, see what they wanted to hear. And two of our really good friends, and specifically my really good friend, Justina, wrote a couple of things in. She listens to our show all the time, so shout out, Justina. You're the best mom of 3 under 3. So... So the first question she had was asking about acknowledgement in a relationship. So when she says, I know when I say I want to be acknowledged, to me that means I don't want to be ignored, and to put the effort in. But to my husband, it means that I can be needy and I want to be reassured. So what do you think the differences are between men and women with acknowledgement?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
So the person who asked the question and then vice versa. Okay, cool. So I think there is a legit conversation of what the difference is between acknowledgement and being needy. Like, I think day-to-day stuff, I think the most important stuff is the day-to-day stuff. So if you're the person cleaning the house, taking care of the children, doing all that stuff, a little acknowledgement, some flowers here, there's some candy for both sides. Like, I love pudding, so if you brought me pudding, like things like that. I think there is also understanding the other way of it. Am I coming off needy? Am I coming off the right way? Does it come off genuine that it's not just I need your attention because I don't feel I'm getting it? Or is it, hey, it's just nice every once in a while that we don't get the appreciation at work we deserve for the most of us, things like that. It's just nice if our significant other or anybody that we're really close with or we live in close quarters with, has that type of thing. But I think for men, it really is just one of those things where we're very simple-minded, generalist, very general, like we're very simple. So unless you tell us, again, this is for me, only my perspective, unless you tell us or I see it's very blatant, I just try my best to be like, well, if it were me, how would I want to be reciprocated for it?
For sure. I think it's also it's a weird kind of back and forth that you have, because I think about it all the time. Like when I ask you, oh, babe, like come spend time with me. You're like, we are spending time together. We're in the same house together. And I'm like, for me, that's not spending time together. That's being in the same house together. I'm also in, when we were living at your parents' house, we were in the same house with everybody. That didn't mean we were spending time with those people. That just meant we were in the same house. Yeah. So I think it's knowing how your partner needs to have that affection or needs to feel that kind of affection and attention and acknowledgement. So great, you're here, but you're playing video games. So that's not hanging out. You're not acknowledging what I'm doing, opposed to I just make dinner, I bring it down, and you're like, oh, babe, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much for doing that for me. Like, those little things, I think change. I also think with you, like, with men, a lot of the times I know that my best friend, her and her boyfriend are always, like, arguing about, well, we're spending time together because he's like, well, you're here with me. And she's like, no, you're playing a video game and I'm sitting next to you. That doesn't mean we're hanging out. That doesn't mean you're acknowledging me. That just means that we're in the same space. So I think kind of finding a good balance between the two of, this is what I need to feel acknowledged. And I understand that you don't need that, but can we work on a way of getting to that point together?
And I think that there's also a little bit of fairness. Like, if the lady loves playing Halo, whatever it's out, and she just got home and she wants to play a quick game, like an hour or so, that's fine. But if she's had the whole day off and she's been playing for 9 hours, she's been playing for 9 hours and she still wants to continue when you get home or whatever the case may be. Like, there is a certain allowance you get of it. Like, you're a grown adult, you should be able to do what you want. You shouldn't have to cater to anybody's needs, but at the same token, you got to be fair to it. So I think that's a really fun one. That's a really good one. So how about we move on to
you got a question for me?
I got a couple. Again, you can let me know on Twitter at Mercado2333. What do you do if you want to leave a roommate to live with a boyfriend or girlfriend, but the roommate still wants to be together?
Oh, that's rough. That's an awkward situation. I think that, I mean, you have to be honest, because you also don't want to end up in a situation where you're kind of living there and it's really spiteful, especially since if your roommate still wants to live with you, you probably have a decent relationship with them. I know a friend of mine, when she was living with her roommate, their lease was up and she found out that, I mean, she got engaged. So she kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah, it was inevitable.
Right. But it was still a really big bummer because they like lived together for 2 years. They had a really good relationship and it was a hard move. I think being open and honest and saying, you know, I understand that you still want to live together and I love and appreciate you so much, but I'm taking this next step in my life. And unfortunately, it's just a step that I need to take with this person opposed to you. And I hope this doesn't change, but I think you also need to accept that there's a really good chance it's going to change your relationship and it could affect your relationship and not in a positive way. Yeah,
and I think there's stages of it. If you aren't a creeper, then you just let your friend move on. The big thing is you want to make sure you don't screw over the other person. So as long as financially everybody's secure and nobody is getting hurt in the situation when it comes to that, and everybody can move on to live into a safe environment and you know, make it a secure move and stuff. I think that's the most important thing. You should always root for things like that. You should always root for your friends and loved ones to grow and to experience different happinesses. If some person is really mad about you moving in with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, chances are they're a serial killer and they're going to be the next bad guy in a creepy movie, because that's how all creepy movies start.
But I also think it's it's knowing if it's out of concern or if it's out of genuine, like, I don't want you to move, I want you to be with me forever, opposed to, hey, do you really think this is a good idea? I mean, I wasn't going to live with my best friend, but she was super like, are you sure this is a good idea, when we moved in together, because we moved in so quickly. And it's different when it's genuine concern. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. Like, is this are they coming from a good place? Are they trying to look out for you, or are they just kind of being selfish?
It's very interesting. No, I think it's definitely more vague. And I don't want to generalize, but like, that just definitely seems like a movie trope thing, and it definitely feels like a villainous type of thing that you only see in scary movies with female characters. But in general, I just think people are pretty cool as long as you're not screwing them financially. So that's just where I am with it.
I agree.
Yeah. What else you got?
All right, another one from Justina is, how do you balance work, family, and social life and still have time to grow together as a couple? Which I think is really, I like that question, because it's not spending time together, it's growing. Because every relationship needs to, if you're not growing, you're not moving anywhere.
It's all about ego. To me, it's one of those things where, you make time for each other, and you enjoy everybody's quirks. You try to make many memories as you can. You can't have an ego. You can't. Not everything is going to be like we were talking about earlier. Whether or not we spend time together, how I perceive it, all this and all that. But at the end of the token, like, it's all about doing the right thing, and just you can't be afraid to change. You can't be afraid to do that, but you also got to be patient with the other person. So I just think really it's not having an ego and being open to everything, being willing to make certain moves and certain changes and certain acceptances, and especially when there's kids involved, but like, as particularly people our age and our situations, like, very much is not having an ego, listening to the other person, understanding you're not going to do everything that the other person wants to do and vice versa, but you're willing to at least talk about it and be interested and be uncomfortable. What do you think?
I think that it's I think we're a really good example of how busy people can be. It's you do your podcast, you do your interviews when you're not doing a podcast with me and Alex, and then you're also working. So, and you take care of a lot of stuff around the house, because I'm just not home that often. And then, I work and I go to school. So we are an ideal, busy couple that without even having kids. Like, I can't even imagine. Mowgli is enough of a child for me right now, because he takes up enough of my day and time as is. But I think it's knowing that, A, you need to grow, because if you're not growing and you're stagnant, then there's a problem, because why are you together if you're not bettering yourself? Exactly. Communication, I think, is huge. And I think being there and being present in the moment, because a lot of times people just move and groove and they don't really know where they're at. And it's like, oh, is today Friday? I thought it was Tuesday. Those are things that they're not only bad for you, but they're bad for your relationship, because you don't want to look back and be like, wow, like we didn't go on vacation for 3 years. Like, how did that even happen? How did we not spend that kind of quality time and go on those kind of adventures and growth opportunities?
But if you don't even notice it while it's happening, that's a good sign in its own that something's wrong, where you're not even noticing that, hey, I'm not spending as much time with this person, or, you know, we're just not as close as we used to be. So I think that's very, very good point, a very thing to keep an eye on when it comes to relationships. So that's a really good question. How about this one? Let's do a tough one. What do you do if a friend or family member wants you to end the relationship? So let's just assume that they just don't like the person.
So I've been in that situation before, where I've had people not want me to be with somebody. I think it's a really dangerous road to go down, because this specific person, they ended up liking later, and it was because of information that they thought they had. It ended up being really, it caused a really big rift between my relationship with them and then, you know, my relationship with other members of the family, because they felt like, well, if this is how this person feels, and it's like, no, it's not about that. It's that you're taking this information that you didn't even have. You had, like, you went searching for something. And my thing is no matter what it is, no matter who it belongs to, if you're looking for something, you're going to find something that you don't like, you know, and that's in everything. I think you should always be honest if someone asks your opinion. I think that you need to be really careful about how you approach it, because the reality is that I've had family members and friends be with people and get married to people that I am not fond of. Are you willing to ruin that relationship in order to do that? And sometimes people come to their senses and they realize it's just not a good relationship, or it's not a good, you know, the person can be perfectly nice, but it's just not a good spot for them, and they realize it on their own. But it's really hard to tell somebody who thinks that they're in love, because you know how it works, like everybody thinks they're in love, that it's not good and it's not a good fit.
I think at the end of it, it's all about stages and who you're comfortable with and how that relationship is with that person. The one thing, you know, is how honest you are with that person from jump. So if you've always been honest with them, then yeah, you got to tell them, like, this is how I feel. But it all really depends on the detriments of the relationship, of what that person brings to it. So if the significant other that you don't like is really harming that person, then you have to say something.
Absolutely.
But if it's just because they're Republican and you're a Democrat, then suck it up, Buttercup. Like that's
I mean,
neither
have you
here nor
been
there.
in that situation, or do you like have friends that you felt like this person wasn't a good fit and you did say something or didn't say something? Like, do you know what I mean? Because I feel like for guys, it's always really different, right? Because I think women, we tend to be very like.
See, my only regrets growing up when it comes to things like that as a guy is allowing stupid decisions to be made from all my friends, for myself, just allowing us to make bad choices that you make at those ages.
Right.
And you don't really think about the consequences of people and what the ramifications of those things mean. So, you know, other than that, though, it's like, you know, you're going to make your mistakes. And again, you know, as long as it's somebody not hurting somebody, so if it's not an abusive relationship, if it's just because, you know, they have, you know, they're a Sox fan, you're a Cubs fan, then, you know, it's just, there's certain things there's certain battles you don't fight. And that's one of them. But if it's something serious, then yeah, I think you have the green light. You have no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
What you got?
From Miss Lonsky, what is the most important quality in a life partner?
Trust. I think trust might be the biggest thing, because again, there's so many things that you could find in different people, but it's really hard to trust somebody.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when a kid trusts you with their candy. Or, you know, when...
Don't trust me with your candy.
Nobody trusts you with any candy, any type of delicious food. Like, that's the thing, though. It's like, it is so hard. Like, yeah, you know, we all wish we could be with people who are 9s and 10s. We all wish we could be millionaires. But there's intangibles. It's like sports. There's intangibles. yeah, every great athlete is 6'8".
Yeah.
But if they got a killer instinct and if they can make the game-winning shot with the pressure on them, those are the stuff that take people over to that next level. And it's the same thing in relationships. It's like you both could be, the most beautiful people in the world. You essentially, like, you could have one or two great qualities of each other, but if everything else falls apart, then it doesn't mean anything. And trust to me is if that essential foundation isn't set, it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Making them laugh doesn't matter. Great sex doesn't matter. Like, that will only take you so far. If you can't trust somebody, nothing else matters.
No, I agree with that. I think this is just a personal for me, is patience, the quality. Anyone who knows me, and you, because you live with me, I am on 100 most days. I don't stop, and I don't, like, whirlwind Nicole comes through a room, and that's it. Like, I leave terror in my wake. And I need whomever I am with to be patient, because I think that I do have a lot of good qualities, but sometimes my bad ones, like not waiting 5 seconds for something, can be extremely obnoxious. So the fact that you're so patient with me and that when it passes, it's going to pass and it'll be fine, definitely helps that situation. Like, trust is obviously very important, but patience, just because of my personality, I think I overtake a lot of things and I don't even mean to. It's just who I am. So having someone who's understanding of that and who kind of goes with the flow in that natural way is very helpful.
Oh, that's very cool. And Mowgli checking outside. I hope you guys can hear that on the recording right there.
He's a good boy.
No, he's not.
Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Okay, how about this one? What do you do when you both have different cravings of food? So I'm craving hamburgers. You're craving pizza. What do we do?
We're gonna die.
That's every relationship. Every relationship is gonna end because of that.
God. Like, I can't even tell you how many times a week we go back and forth about what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's the most annoying thing, I think, in any relationship. Usually I feel like I'll give. Not because I want to, but because I'll eat it regardless. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I make something because I want it and then you don't eat it because you don't feel like eating it. Right. And I'm the opposite, where I'll just eat it because I'm like, you know what? I just don't feel like arguing about it right now, and it's fine, and I'll just eat whatever. I don't give a shit. Like, I think for me, food is not as important. Does that make sense? Like, right. You need to feel what you're going to eat. You need to have that desire to eat that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not nearly as picky as that. I also feel like I just have a bigger, like, I'll come home knowing I have to have like 6 options, because that's just, like, today, you're like, well, I can make eggs. And I'm like, well, what do you want? And you're like, well, it's your choice. No, it's not my choice, because if I pick something and you don't want it, you're just going to end up making eggs for yourself.
Right. And I think a lot of that is comes from my mother, because if she doesn't like something, we just won't eat it. Like, it's, right. There's always something to complain about or whatever. Shout out to my mom. But, like, that's just those weird things that get embedded by your parents. To me, it is as simple as that. Like, yeah, I do feel food, but if it's something I can eat, like, let's say we're out with a group of people, and the majority says they want to eat something,
you'll do it.
I'll do it. If it's just us two,
for sure,
then, like, I'm gonna have my opinion of what I want to eat, because it's my house, and
it's home, Mike.
Yeah, it's like I want my home food. The difference is, though, it's like I will cook my own food. Like, if you're just like, I don't want to eat eggs, well, I'm like, go kick rocks. I'll make my own eggs. Like, I don't need anybody to cook me any food. So, like, that to me is the most important thing. It's like, if it's not a big deal, then, and you're not allergic to the food, then who cares?
Right.
But if you're at home, then just make whatever you want, and nobody's your damn maid or your mother. You make your own food.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I think that's really important to know and to keep in mind. Like, there are some people who love to cook for their significant other. I don't mind it. I wouldn't say it's on my top 3 things to do, but, I don't mind doing it. But yeah, no, I think that I've learned it's only taken me 2.5 years, But I've learned that if Mike doesn't want it, he's not gonna eat it.
Oh,
like
okay.
not at home, at least. If we're out, that's different.
We're
But
out,
if we're at
whatever,
home,
okay.
But if we're at home, it's like if you don't want to eat it, you ain't gonna eat it.
And like I'll tell people up front so they don't make extra food, so like it
Right.
doesn't go to waste. Like my big thing is like I don't want people to ever feel bad about whatever I'm eating or if I'm not eating because it's not a big deal to me. It's like I'm a big dude, I'll be all right. Like I'm gonna be okay. Like,
so I tell your mom all the time when she's packing us.
I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah, everyone's packing us food to go home, and I'm like, not one of us is starving. Like you know that, right?
So,
we'll be okay.
That's true. So what else you got?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I've seen that question a lot during this. That's interesting. So 5 years from now, I would like to think I'm better off each paycheck. I would like to think that we're at a spot where possibly we're already looking into a family.
Yeah.
Like, but 5 years, a lot can happen. I mean, a lot can happen in 2 years. So I think a better thing would be 10 years. Because I think 10 years, it's a bigger, broad strand. Like, I could guarantee marriage and a kids and a better career in the sense of, like, a projection. Because in 10 years, you feel like you could just do more. It's a decade.
Yeah.
In 5 years, I feel it's more the baby steps.
You feel it's more shorter term.
Yeah, it's a shorter
opposed to
term,
longer
and it's
term.
like I could for sure probably say like the brand will be a little bit bigger. There'll be more shows. I'll be making more money. Hopefully, we'll be in a different spot. Like there's a lot of different.
We'll all have the same last name in this house, and my child won't be a bastard anymore.
It's funny. It's funny though, but like my mom and I were talking about that. It's like there is no rush for any of this for me. Like I know it's a thing of contention between the two of us because you have this weird phobia and fixation with age and numbers, and like to me it doesn't really mean anything because I literally know people that had kids at 18 and I've known people who have kids at 32 and it's all bullshit numbers. And you know the way life kind of just comes at people.
Sure.
I don't think I'm in any rush because anybody feels they're in a rush. So to me in those 5 years I feel like we're on a good path as a professionally.
Sure.
And for my family, my relationship, like I feel just making the right strides. So yeah, just a bigger brand, more comfort life for both of us, and just things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of around where I'm at too. I hope to be working from home by then.
That'd be great.
My goal is to be writing full time at that point. So I can make my own hours and do that kind of thing. I think that's really important to me. Maybe teaching a class because I'll have my master's by then. So that's really exciting.
That's awesome.
A dog per year. So we'll have 6 by then.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think another dog is definitely
I think in 5 years we'll have 2 more dogs.
We'll probably, no, I'm never going to have more than 2 dogs. So
that's what he says now.
No, that's exactly what I mean. Unless I have a farm.
Twinsies.
Sure.
But no, I think, talking about maybe moving forward with like family stuff. Like I said, I don't know. I feel like I say 5 years and it feels like a long time, but then I remember how fast 5 years went. So it's one of those
only gets
things.
faster.
Exactly. So I don't think that, that's something that when it happens, great. And when it does, you know what I mean? I'm not stressed about that. But yeah, more comfort, having a bigger place, having more space to kind of do things. I think that would be awesome. Yeah. Maybe a pet pig. Who knows?
Yeah. There's a funny one. 3 essential relationship defining questions. Did you vote for Trump? Do you believe in God? Chipotle or Qdoba?
Oh,
that's very interesting. Qdoba's good.
It's all right.
Yeah. Politics in a relationship. It's tough, right?
I was listening to an audiobook. Rachel Dratch, she was on SNL, and she was talking about how she found out that the person that she was with, she was pregnant with his kid, and then she found out that he was more of a Republican, and she's like, I'm a flaming liberal. She's like, and it almost made me pause, like, what am I doing having a kid? And she's like, and then I thought, why is that even like a question? He's a good man and a good person. We may not agree on everything. That doesn't mean that he's a horrible
monster
person, right?
Yeah.
I think that, and specifically in our relationship, it doesn't make a huge difference because I'm not super political, just in any forum. I have my own views, but it's not something that I choose to necessarily bring up in everyday topic conversation. I think for you, it would be a little bit harder if I was like that because I feel like you feel very strongly about the things that you feel strongly about.
I strongly believe in common sense politics.
Right. So, but it's one of those things, like I think it's hard. I think politics is just one of those triggers. I think religion is a trigger.
But it has to be, though, especially religion, because if you plan to get married, you kind of have to.
It depends. I feel like there are so many people who I'm Roman Catholic because my mother was Roman Catholic.
No, I get it.
My
I'm just
grandmother
saying,
was
like,
Roman Catholic, and it's like,
it might
but
be a thing.
have you been to church
Sure.
in the last 15 years? Because if you haven't, then I really don't need to hear about it. Like, there's no, you don't even go on holidays. Like, there's no sense in bringing it up. You know, I think that's when it gets hard. I think if you're a strict, like you're strict in your religious beliefs, I think then you have a right to say something because you need to say, hey, this is what I follow and I do truly believe this and this is something important to me. So, you know, I want to know how you feel about that or if you would be okay, because sometimes the other person's like, you know what, it really doesn't matter to me, so that's cool. But I definitely think that's a trigger.
Yeah, I know, I'm with you. You got anything else?
I do. What is your ideal date? Before we started dating, because we don't.
Oh, our ideal dates, an ideal dates. Well, okay, so I definitely think an important thing is to talk to somebody. So, like, I love movies. Obviously, you can listen to us on The Good Brothers, but I definitely think a date you should talk. Mm-hmm. So I think it has to be a very chill atmosphere. So I think cool little dive bars that you know have good lighting, but you know, just they don't feel like you're gonna be in a creep area, but at the same time, like it's not an expensive, top tier bar. I think anything, if you're really good at something, so if you're really good at like shooting pool or arcade or darts or anything like that, like you should definitely do something like that because at least you can have fun. Or maybe do the opposite. If you're really bad at darts, go to the dart bar and have fun. Make fun of yourself. Like have a sense of humor. So like to me, that's the most important thing. So like a perfect date is some decent food, pizza, wings, hamburgers, and then to a nice, cool, chill bar, a couple drinks, and call it a night.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I'm not a huge fan of dates, just in general. Like, I don't like dinner dates. I think it's always really awkward because you're eating and you put something in your mouth and then you're talking, and it's just a strange atmosphere. Like, our first date was like a lunch date.
Sure.
So, but I like things really light. I don't like a lot of fuss. I do love the zoo. That's probably my favorite place to go. And I know that it's like, it's horrible because I hate seeing the animals like that, but I love the zoo because I love seeing the animals. So it's that weird, unless you want to take me to go see puppies, and then that sounds like the perfect date to me. It's just going and hanging out with puppies all day. But other than that, yeah, I think like something really light, something fun where you can communicate. I agree with that and really talk about what you're kind of looking for. Especially at this age, I think that I would go into a date very differently than I would have at 21.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You know, I think that there are certain things that should be said right away. And, if you're like, hey, I'm looking for something serious. So if you're not, that's totally fine. But like, I don't want either of us to waste our time. And I think that that's an age thing. You get wiser, you get smarter, you know what you want, and you're not afraid to say it. And I think you don't have to be like, hey, by the way, I want to get married like in the next 2 years. Like that's fine. But I think more along the lines of, hey, I want a future and I'm looking for something serious. I'm not just looking to hang out. I think that's something that I would probably say now if I was in that position.
What do you do if you both like to party and one of you takes advantage more of the buddy system? So, AKA, you both like to enjoy yourselves. One ends up enjoying themselves a little bit too much, or the other person can't do it. How do you rotate it? Do you have to rotate it? Do you decide, well, this friend is closer to you, this occasion is more up your alley, so you get to enjoy the night more than I do? Vice versa, you just say, screw it, and we take a taxi, let's pay the money. How do you solve those situations?
So I think that I've always said this, and I've said this to like my brother when he used to go out. If you have the money to drink, then you have the money to take a cab. So stop being a cheap ass in things that you should not be a cheap ass in. I think it was easier when we were in the city because there was taxis and cabs and Ubers and everything everywhere. So that was a little bit easier to kind of navigate. Knowing who's closer. And I think that's, if it's going to be like, hey, I'm going out with the girls, I need someone to pick me up, or vice versa. I think that's fair. I think when you're both going somewhere, if it's something that makes sense to drive to, because it's like, that 25-minute mark, you're kind of passing that time frame where you can really grab a cab. I think it's deciding beforehand who's driving, and you switch off. The next time I'll drive, the next time you'll drive. Or if there are events, I think we have less of that issue because you work weekends. So
I don't drink.
Right, you don't really drink. So,
drink,
like, when you do, we plan far, far ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, like, for the holidays, we were staying at your parents. So, it really helped in that. But, like, that helps a lot. But there are definitely times where I've been like, you know, if you want to drink, I won't drink. Because as I enjoy it. I enjoy having social time with my friends. But it's not to the point where I want you to be miserable.
And most of the time with your dog.
That's at my own house. So, I don't have to drive.
That's true, but you do enjoy your mimosa time with your dog.
Well, no, I have my friends here too.
No, you don't. And you know what? Your dog doesn't count as a friend.
He is my friend.
You have any more questions for us?
You got a wine glass that says if you drink it, it's not drinking at home alone if the dog is home.
This sure is a good Christmas present. Any other questions?
The last one from Mrs. Lonsky is, and the final most important question of all, when are you going to adopt a second dog?
When you buy me a house.
Do you have any more questions, Mike?
I do not have any more questions. Nicole, are you ready to go home?
Yeah.
You ready to close shop?
I'm ready.
Can I turn off the oven?
Yes.
All right,
ready.
Let's go ahead and call it. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this Q&A episode of Pizza Night with Niki and Mike. We really do appreciate it. If you were interested in doing this again, we are going to do this again, especially when we feel like we've done a couple episodes in a row of like specific topics and tackling things. I think this is a really cool palate cleanser. Mm-hmm. And it's a really cool episode for you and I. Just kind of, lay back, just answer a few bullshit questions and just go on with our night. So it's pretty fun. The way you do that, like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. On Twitter, we're at mmercado2333. Please use the hashtag relationship, Pizza Night with Niki and Mike, anything like that. Be part of the conversation. If you're on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. You can go on the comment section. We're going to start checking those out as soon as you guys start commenting and being part of that conversation. Every single one of our episodes, every one of our interviews, all our cool shows are brought to you by our amazing producers at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. You have two cool tiers. One, if you want to get these episodes ad-free or before anybody else, or if you would like to sponsor us here at Mercado Airwaves and get your brand out to a huge, diverse audience, that's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on iTunes, itunes.com/Mercado Airwaves. And we're on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Mercado Airwaves. Guys, we're taking over. We are literally everywhere, including Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us again this week. Any last words for the people?
I'm really excited. I'm glad that we did this. This is something that we've been talking about, and I'm super excited for next week. Guys, tune in. We're going to do a Valentine's Day themed whole
Oh, that's right. It's
situation.
not just Black Panther week. It is Valentine's Day week, isn't it?
After that, yes.
No, Valentine's Day is what day?
Well, no, I'm saying that next week is not the week that it all comes out. It comes out the following week.
Yeah,
but
February
we want to give
15th.
people some time.
Yeah, February 15th is Black Panther.
Yeah,
February 12th is Valentine's Day?
February 14th is Valentine's Day.
February 4th.
Every year. It's
Really?
the 14th.
That's the holiday that's every day?
Obviously, we do not celebrate in this house, but we have some
stupid diaper baby.
But we have some great ideas for you guys, and we have.
I'm not going to be here for this show.
Oh God.
You're going to run it. I hate Valentine's Day.
He's like literally
I'm
the worst.
not doing it.
You're just the worst. Anyways, so we're super excited. I'm really excited to see you guys all next week and see what you have to say. So hopefully we hear from you then.
Thank you guys so much. Again, she's at nmancha89 on Twitter. I'm at mmercado2333. Be part of the conversation. Like us on Facebook. We love you. We'll see you next week here on Pizza Night with Niki and Mike.
Night.
Thanks for joining us here on Pizza Night with Niki and Mike here on Mercado Airwaves.